Hey, music fans, and welcome to the debut episode of Scrap Dog Scott's Records. Glad that you've decided to join in. This is a live video. This is not going to be the debut pre-recorded video. I'm probably going to make a little intro for my channel, but this is a contest entry for my friend Jacob Martin. He said, make the soundtrack of your life in about 20 to 25 songs. So that's what I've done here. I'm going to, and there he is right there, Jacob Martin. Glad you're watching because this is my contest entry. I smashed two words together. My contest entry into your contest, Scrap Dog Scott's Records. My entry into Jacob Martin's contest there, the soundtrack of your life. Also, if anybody else is watching or watching on the replay, be sure to watch tonight when Jacob, Nick, and I review the Rolling Stones' fourth album, Out of Our Heads. It's going to be fun. We've done the first three, and the Rolling Stones albums get a lot better with Out of Our Heads, so we're excited to get to talk about that one. But as for the video about the soundtrack of my life, I have thought about songs that are just kind of important key songs. Oh, I missed a very important song on my list. I'm going to have to add one real fast. My favorite song of all time. Should have made sure I had that on there before. Okay, now it's on there. I'm going to have to find a cool place to put it now. Playlists, soundtrack of my life. I just put up the soundtrack. I've got to put it in the place where it goes when I heard it. Okay, there we go. Now I've got the full soundtrack of my life ready to go. This album's so good that it can get no satisfaction. Down, 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 down. This may be the last time. This might be the last time. No, it's not the last time we'll be reviewing the Rolling Stones. And now I just got to make a play with fire pun now. But getting into my list, I have decided to put songs that are just very important to me and have something to do with something that happened in my life. I've chosen 21 songs for this playlist, and I've decided to format it like a vinyl double album. Now, I didn't constrain to 20 minutes per side. I might have gone over like 25 minutes on each of the sides, but how it's going to go is there's going to be 5 or 6 songs on each side of the record, side 1, side 2, side 3, and side 4. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the songs on there and why I picked that particular song. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And if you noticed, my video quality looks a lot better. It's because my webcam finally came in today, and it looks so much better than just the default one I had on my computer. Yeah, there it is. Briar's here. Hey, Briar. The webcam looks great. Yes, I'm surprised how fast it came in, too. It was well worth $30 just to get this clear picture here. But all right, I'm now going to start with the soundtrack of my life. And to start, we must go all the way back to the early 2000s when I was just a little child and listening to a band called The Wiggles. And the song, it's the first song on here, is called Hot Potato. So Hot Potato was a Wiggles song that I listened to a lot when I was a kid. It is very catchy. It is very silly, but it was very important in my life. The hot potato, that really gets stuck in your head. I'm probably going to have to switch where I'm doing my video. Just a second. Okay. Haven't heard the Wiggles in a while. Hot Potato is an earworm with fruit salad. Those were the two songs I was deciding between. Ultimately, I went with Hot Potato just because, I don't know, I listened to both of them and thought, you know what, I'm going to go with Hot Potato. Hot Potato, Potato. Okay, but that song was like the greatest song when I was a kid. The Wiggles, and yes, Thomas the Tank Engine takes me back in time as well. I could have put the Thomas the Tank Engine theme on there. Dun 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 dun. There's all kinds of children's show songs I could have put on here, but I just limited it to one. Still listen to Fruit Salads. And yes, that song actually is very catchy. Fruit salad, yummy, yummy. So the next song is a song that I remember from my childhood because my dad liked to play country radio, and we would drive in his car and he would roll the windows down. And this is one I particularly remembered always enjoying when it came on the radio. The song is called Gone, and it's by a band called Montgomery Gentry. And so whenever I heard this song on the radio, I'd always get excited, but it was because of the chorus that went, gone like a freight train, gone like yesterday, gone like a soldier in the Civil War, bang, bang. I don't know what it was about that, but I just always thought that was really catchy and was one of my favorite country songs when I was a kid. I used to listen to country radio with my dad. I don't listen to country really now, but working at a hotel that has a country theme, I hear country, like old country music all the time, and that song came on the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, that song. I used to love that song as a kid. So I threw that one on there. Love's Gone, yes. So next, we're going to jump from childhood to middle school, or even it's middle school, or almost middle school, kind of like the preteen years. From the time that I first heard my favorite band of all time. And my mom was a drama teacher, and she would have these CDs that would contain songs that were going to be used in her plays. And this was one of them. And the song was called I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. And I'd never heard that song, and I remember specifically whenever she got the CD, she was listening through all the songs to make sure they all got put on good. And when this song came on, I was thinking, what is this song? I've never heard this before. This is really catchy. And that began my obsession with the Beatles. Now, this is not going to be the last Beatles song on here. I tried to have one song per artist, but unfortunately I had to put 3 different Beatles selections on here. But the Beatles are my favorite band, so they kind of had to have that. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. Next is another song that was put on one of these Play CD soundtracks, and it's called Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News. So I remember listening to this song. I'd never heard Huey Lewis and the News. I had no idea about Back to the Future, that Huey Lewis was like really big in the 80s with Back to the Future, but I just really liked the song. And later on in my life, I would come to enjoy more of Huey Lewis's music, like The Power of Love, and my favorite song by Huey Lewis is If This Is It, but it's not on the list, but I really like that song. Hearing the Beatles is better than hearing it. Yes, before I'd heard I Want to Hold Your Hand, I'd actually heard a few Beatles covers by the Chipmunks without knowing what they were. But I chose not to put any Alvin and the Chipmunks on this playlist, thank goodness. Now we're going to go to a song that I heard on the radio in middle school that blew my mind and made me think, is this what music is like? This is the kind of complete depths that music can go to. This is insane. It's amazing. I love this. And that song is called Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Whenever I first heard that song on the radio, I was big into playing Guitar Hero. And the Guitar Hero had We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, so that's kind of what I knew Queen for at the time. But then I heard Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio, and it was this amazing piano ballad with this guy, Freddie Mercury, who could sing insanely high. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. But then, like, my mom, who had heard the song before, was saying, oh, you better get ready. Something's about to happen. And I thought, what's about to happen? And then this epic guitar solo started. Brian May's really great guitar solo. It was really amazing. And then after that, the operatic section started up, and I thought, what is this? This is insane. And so I had to put, yeah, no, there's great songs, and then there's Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like on its own level. I had to put that one on there because it blew my 14-year-old mind when I first heard it. And that is going to be the end of side one of this. Queen may or may not be on my entry. This is going to be the end of side one of this soundtrack. So the last thing you're going to hear is that gong. And then it's time to flip the record to side two, where we're going to get to my high school years. And what better song to start off my high school years than Don't Stop Believing by my favorite band in high school, Journey. I love Journey. I bought like most of their Steve Perry albums on CD. Don't Stop Believing is one of my favorite Journey songs. I know it's one that gets played on the radio a lot, but I never really get tired of hearing it. I've always loved Neil Sean's guitar on that one, Jonathan Cain's piano, and of course Steve Perry. Journey was just kind of the soundtrack, really the soundtrack to high school, and I had to pick Don't Stop Believing because it's their signature song. There's a lot of other songs that by Journey that I could have picked that I also really liked, like Who's Crying Now, Faithfully, Separate Ways, Stone in Love, like basically anything from Escape or Frontiers, other than Back Talk. That song is awful. But anything from Escape or Frontiers could have probably been a good contender on this soundtrack for the Journey. But I chose Don't Stop Believing because it's got to be on there. My portion of the intro. Yes, that's also Jacob's theme song on the SoundLab Studios channel. Okay, the second song is a representative, if that's even a real word, whenever I got my first record. My first record was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. So to kind of show when I got my first record and really what changed my way of thinking about music, I'm going to choose Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and With a Little Help from My Friends. This is the next song. I remember getting that record, putting it on, and then just like hearing the crowd noises and the album starting up and just thinking like, wow, what I'm listening to isn't like a remaster of the song or a digital thing. I'm actually listening to what people heard back in the day and thinking that's really cool. And it sounds a little bit differently too. But then by the end of the album, I had experienced a completely new, you can't separate those two songs, a new way to listen to music where you have to listen to all the songs on the album. And honestly, like I thought the album was really weird the first time I listened to it. Now it's my second favorite album of all time, especially because of just the memories I have of it being my first record and my first like proper studio album that I'd ever listened to. Okay, now we're going to go with, I said I was playing Guitar Hero a lot. Well, I wanted to learn how to play guitar in real life, and I ended up getting an electric guitar, learning how to play. But one of the songs that I really liked playing, and I really wanted to learn how to play, was Carry On My Wayward Son by Kansas. I remember hearing that on the radio and thinking, this is some of the best guitar work I've ever heard. It changes up a lot. It's got really cool guitar solos. I love the piano on it. I love the a cappella vocals at the beginning. I just love the jamming on it. It's always been an amazing song, and I really had to put that one on here. And next we have a song called Come Sail Away by Styx. That's another song that I really enjoyed in high school. I love the piano intro, kind of classically inspired, played by Dennis DeYoung. And then the song, like halfway through, switches up to be more rocking with guitar, like more guitar-based rather than piano-based. But then, like in the middle of the guitar section, it just cuts out and has all this really weird, really cool, like synthesizer solos. And then it comes back to the guitar. And I've always just loved the contrast between the classically and piano-inspired first half and the guitar rock-driven second half and the cool synthesizer solo in the middle. Yeah, I don't get the Styx hate. Jacob saying he doesn't realize how anyone can hate Styx. I really don't get the hate for Styx. Again, I think that comes from some of the same stuff we were talking about on the Selling Out video, that there's just kind of musical elitists that just because Styx sold a lot of records and they play them a lot on the radio, that just means they're a corporate band just trying to make money. And I really think there is a lot of artistic vision within Styx, especially like Dennis DeYoung and Tommy Shaw. I know They're both really talented songwriters. Dennis is a great piano player and an amazing singer. Tommy Shaw, amazing singer as well, amazing guitar player. I really dig Styx. I haven't listened to all their albums though, but the few albums I've listened to by them are really good, especially Grand Illusion. That album is insane. If you haven't listened to that one, you got to hear that album. It's amazing. And that's the one with Come Sail Away on it. And next, we're going to do a song actually that I had heard in middle school, but I put it here just because I wanted it to be the end of the first half of the album. And that is going to be Mr. Blue Sky by the Electric Light Orchestra, which was really whenever I found out that rock music and classical music could be blended together in an amazing way. And you have rock instruments with a full orchestra. Man, I remember the first time I heard Mr. Blue Sky was actually in a movie called Megamind, which is a really underrated movie. When I was younger, like it came out at the same time as Despicable Me, and I thought, oh, Despicable Me is a much better movie. But now looking back, I realized that Megamind is actually the better movie. It's definitely a more well-written movie than Despicable Me. But I'd heard the song, but I didn't realize where it was from. My brother heard it on the radio and was like, I heard this amazing song. It's that same one that's in Megamind. We ended up finding out the song was called Mr. Blue Sky, and man, I just remember listening to that so much back in middle school and high school, like hearing that it's like a rock band with a full orchestra. I love The Game Plan. That's a great movie. I remember seeing it with Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, it's a really good movie. But I want that choir orchestra ending to be the end of side 2, even though the Mr. Blue Sky is actually part of a larger suite of songs called the Concerto for a Rainy Day on the album called Out of the Blue. And I think it's amazing as its own song, but I think it works even better as the ending of the Concerto for a Rainy Day on the album. But sadly, I can't put the whole thing on it because it's a compilation soundtrack of your life, and I hadn't heard the full Concerto for a Rainy Day until I was almost graduated from college, so we're going to have to unfortunately not use the rest of it. But just a little side note, when I was in college, I really liked listening to the full Concerto for a Rainy Day a lot. Okay, we're going to flip the record over and we're going to start side 3 with my favorite song of all time. And my favorite song of all time is Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. I remember, let's see, somebody told me I needed to listen to that song, and I'd never heard it before because I was talking about like The Sound of Silence or something. And they said, you ever listen to Bridge Over Troubled Water? And I said, no. So I decided to listen to this song, Bridge Over Troubled Water, to hear what it was about. And the first thing I hear is just like this beautiful piano at the beginning. And it's just amazing. And then Art Garfunkel's voice comes in. And it's, oh my goodness, it's just such a beautiful song. And I love the lyrics of this song. Like, you can interpret the lyrics in several different ways, but it's just talking about really being there for somebody. And like, it can either be used in a romantic or a friendship kind of way. But either way, it's talking about like a self-sacrificial kind of love. And I love the last verse where the drum comes in with the that like huge sound whenever they hit the snare drum, and then the orchestra swells up with Art Garfunkel and Paul Simon singing at the same time. And I've always loved the lyrics of the last verse. Sail on, silver girl, sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. If you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will ease your mind. Man, when I heard that, this is like the only song that has ever made me cry whenever I first heard it. And I'm not talking like I was bawling by the end, because I have a better control over my emotions with that. But let's just say that my eyes were just a little misty when the first time I heard this song. And like, whenever that orchestra hit its final note, I just thought, that is the most amazing song I've ever heard in my life. Now, there are some songs that have gotten pretty close. I might talk about those later that have given me a similar emotional reaction, but none of them have ever done it like Bridge Over Troubled Water. That song, oh my goodness. Yeah, you definitely need to listen to all 5 Simon and Garfunkel albums. The first one's okay, but like from Sound of Silence through Bridge Over Troubled Water is like essential listening. Now we're going to get to another band that I enjoyed. And this is going to start with the college years, when I was in college. And this is going to be from a band called Chicago, which I really got into in 2020, or like early 2020, pre-pandemic, in like January, February. But Chicago is what's interesting about them is they're a rock band with a horn section. We already had ELO, which is a rock band with an orchestra. Now we have Chicago, which is a rock band that has a horn section that incorporates elements of blues and jazz and like all sorts of amazing things. They made some fantastic music. The song that really makes me enjoy the most is 25 or 6 to 4, and that's the one that I put on there. The song starts off with Terry Kath, the guitar player, and this really great guitar riff that kind of descends downwards. He's one of the most underrated guitar players ever. It kind of goes like a and then that riff continues and the drums come in. And then the horns come in. And then the lead singer on this song, what's great about Chicago is they had like 3 different lead singers and 3 or 4 different songwriters in the band. But this song is sung by the bass player, Peter Cetera. He had the high voice. So there was like 3 people. Peter Cetera had the high voice. Robert Lamb, who was kind of the band leader and the piano player, he had the middle voice. And then Terry Kath, the guitar player, had the low, raspy voice. And so you get all kinds of different sounding songs with all kinds of different sounding voices and all different genres, which is what makes Chicago amazing. But this one was sung by Peter Cetera, the bass player, and he's got the really high voice that you might know from some of their later work, like If You Leave Me Now or You're the Inspiration. He sang those songs, which are actually really good songs. And yes, I will defend those songs. They're amazing, especially If You Leave Me Now. That's one of my favorite Chicago songs. But 25 or 6 to 4 is my favorite. I've always loved the horn section. Love the guitar playing. The guitar playing, especially there's like 2 or 3 guitar solos in there, but that middle one, that's the long one. Whenever he kicks in the wah pedal, that made me go out and buy a wah pedal. That's the first guitar pedal I ever bought, was a wah pedal because of that song. The Yeah, You're the Inspiration is Jacob's favorite Chicago song from the 80s. My favorite Chicago song from the 80s is probably, hard to say, I'm sorry, With the Getaway outro, because that's epic. How it's the 80s ballad, but then there's this really cool, funky jam session at the end. Or Along Comes a Woman is another really good 80s Chicago song. I will say I'm more of a fan of the 70s stuff, but I'm not going to be one of those people who's like, man, Chicago sold out in the 80s because blah, blah, blah. And David Foster ruined the band. And like the real truth of that I've looked into is that David Foster was the only producer in the 80s who would keep the horn section for Chicago. Like if they would have gone with any other producer, they would have actually sold out. And they said, we're going to keep on looking until we find somebody who will let us keep our horn section. A lot of people don't know that. But back to 25 or 6 to 4. Yeah, amazing song. One of the greatest guitar solos ever. And I love the ending chord. Oh, it's so jazzy with the band. And then Terry Kath goes like, yeah, Chicago was definitely one of my favorite bands when I was in college. And now we've got the final of the Beatles selections, which is technically 3 songs, but they all have to go together. I wanted to do the whole Abbey Road medley, but again, that's too long. So I'm just going to do the last 3 songs with Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight in the end. Abbey Road being my favorite album of all time. Whenever I first heard that B-side medley, I just thought, wow, this is amazing. And especially the last song, Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight in the end. Golden Slumbers is a song that Paul McCartney kind of created from lyrics of a children's song that he found sitting on his piano one day. And man, he sings it really well, and I love it when the orchestra comes in. George Martin's arrangements are amazing. And then Carry That Weight is one of the only songs where all 4 of the Beatles sing at the same time. It's kind of like a big sing-along. Boy, you're gonna carry that weight. And then it has like a reprise of You Never Gonna Give Me, or You Never Give Me Your Money, which is the first song on the Abbey Road medley. And then the orchestra comes in again, and then you got the end. where every one of the Beatles gets a chance to have a solo real quick before they it's kind of their last song. It's the last song, or one of the last. Well, I think it's the last song they recorded all together. I think "I Me Mine" was the last song recorded by all of them, sans Lennon, because he'd already left the band. But Ringo has a drum solo, and then there's a three-way guitar duel with Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and John Lennon. And just between everybody, I think George Harrison won that guitar duel. He has the coolest lick, the bow, 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 wow. That's my favorite lick in the song. But then it all like cuts out, and you get just the piano, and it has a really cool last line. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And then a really cool outro solo from George Harrison. And then it just kind of, it just really sounds like the end of the Beatles, which is sad, but it's a great way for them to end their career. Okay, now we're going to go to Genesis. And I got really big into Genesis, but I wasn't as big into prog rock back then, so it was mainly the Phil Collins stuff then. And the song I'm going to pick is a song called Abacab from their 1981 album of the same name. I've always thought this song was so weird and experimental, but yet still like pop leaning. And I love the synthesizers on there from Tony Banks. I love Phil Collins drumming and singing on there. And I really like at the end Mike Rutherford's outro guitar solo. I've always thought it was just like a really cool, like new wavy sounding song. And I love the whole album, but the song I picked was the title track, Abacab. And now we're going to go to the summer of that year when I was really big into... First song I listed. Yeah, that's a pretty good one to get introduced to Genesis by, because it used to get played on MTV a lot. But it's a really cool song. I love Phil Collins' vocals on there, and I love the whole album. It's very, like, a lot of people are gonna hate me for saying this, but I think the album is very experimental, even though it's made in the 80s. Next we're gonna go for "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys, because I was big into the Beach Boys that summer. One of the most amazing songs I've ever heard. Brian Wilson is a genius. I know people say that a lot, but he is. And I love his kind of Phil Spector-esque wall of sound with the orchestra. Love the harmonies. The harmonies, that section in the middle where it just breaks down and it's just the main chord progression, but in a different key, and they're just doing the harmonies like the ba 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 ba. God only knows what I'd be without you. And then the end where there's like all three of them switching off. It's absolutely amazing. It's Paul McCartney's favorite song of all time, but love, love, love that song. Next, we're going to go to a song that I listened to a lot in the fall of that year when I was listening to The Police, and that song is going to be King of Pain. Man, I must have listened to that song I don't know how many times. Love that song a lot. Synchronicity is one of my favorite albums of all time, and my favorite song on that album is King of Pain. I love that it's like just piano and a xylophone at the beginning. Yes, you heard me right. There's a xylophone in a rock song. I've always thought that was really cool. But like the lyrics that Sting wrote kind of about his divorce at the time and kind of some of the sad things he was feeling are just, oh man, absolutely amazing. Like there's a little black spot on the sun today. It's the same old thing as yesterday. There's a flagpole wreck and the wind won't stop. There's a black hat caught in a high tree top. I think I got those lines switched around. Then the chorus, I've stood here before inside the pouring rain, the world turning circles running around my brain. I guess I'm always hoping that you'll end this rain, but it's my destiny to be the king of pain. Like, I don't know. That's really good poetic writing. And Sting is one of the greatest lyricists, one of the best songwriters too. Now we are going to get to the final side, side 4. We're going to flip the record over. And the first song, it's a long song, and it really should be the last song, but this is where I put it, is Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who. When I listened to Who's Next, about the same time when I listened to The Police, I was like, this is one of the best albums I've ever heard, and this is the closing track to that album. Just a great rock album, and man, what a great way to close this album. Starting out with that cool organ, really cool organ, and then like the guitar and the drums going boom, 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 boom. Really great drumming. Like the drumming is insane. The bass playing is insane. Won't get fooled again was my introduction to the Who was on rock. Yeah, yeah. But the best part of this song is whenever like you get all this great jamming on there, great drumming, great bass playing, great guitar playing, but then it all cuts out, and then you just get like that organ again, and then the drums, and then the scream. Yeah, that's the best part of the song. It's so cool, but I had to include that on there. Next, we're going to go to Creedence Clearwater Revival, and the song is called Looking Out My Back Door. I have always loved this song. This has been my favorite Creedence song since I don't know when. Well, actually, I know when. It's whenever I first listened to Cosmo's Factory. But Looking Out My Back Door, I love that song. It's just fun. It's like kind of chill, but yet upbeat at the same time. I love the guitar solo in it. My favorite Creedence song. John Fogerty is just like one of the great songwriters. Pretty good guitar player as well. Now we're going to go to the summer of 2022. The band is Steely Dan, and the song is called Do It Again. Steely Dan was a band that I discovered in the summer of 2022 and listened to I don't know how many times, but this is their very first song on their very first album, and was the first song that I heard by them that kind of really got me into them, so that's the one I'm going to choose. But it's very like Latin infused. It's got like the intro at the beginning, and then you get this cool electric piano. And it's got a really like Steely Dan. They have a really like smooth feel to them, and it has an amazing solo in the middle that you think it's a guitar, but it's actually an electric sitar, which is really interesting. It's a guitar. It's an electric guitar that's supposed to sound like a traditional Indian instrument, and I think the solo in it is really complicated and really cool. And there's also like an organ solo after that, but it's just really amazing. That was a Santana song. Interesting. We got two more songs. I got one from the fall of 2022, and then one that jumps all the way to fall 2023 because I didn't have much more time. But the second to last song on this is going to be Tom Sawyer by Rush. Rush is one of the bands that I really got into whenever I first heard them. Moving Pictures, one of my 10 favorite, actually one of my 5 favorite albums of all time. Every song on that is like amazing, but I chose Tom Sawyer because, like so many people, it was my introduction to Rush. Great drumming, great guitar playing, really cool synthesizer on there, great bass playing. Rush is just 3 people who are just masters of their instruments and just amazing at what they do. And then we got the final song, which is going to be Eye in the Sky by the Alan Parsons Project. Whenever I first heard this, I had heard of the Alan Parsons Project before, just because like Alan Parsons is the guy who engineered Dark Side of the Moon, and so like he's like apparently this production genius, and all of his records sound amazing. But I never actually listened to any of them. Anyway, one day we're at the record store. I'm at the record store, and I see this album Eye in the Sky, and I think, oh yeah, this is the Alan Parsons guy. I need to listen to this. And right before I walk out the door, the people in the record store start playing that record, and I see they're playing it, and I hear first song Eye in the Sky, and well, the first thing you hear is the intro, which the Chicago Bulls actually used for their intro, and it's actually used in a lot of movies as well. The first time I think I heard it was in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but it kind of goes like but it's like really hype. It's like bum 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 bum, and you have this cool guitar solo. and then it's like really cool intro. When I first heard this song and this album, I thought I had discovered the pot of gold. Like, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever heard. And that is where I'm going to end the soundtrack to my life. I am really glad to have gone through this video. Look forward to making more videos on my channel. Thank you guys for watching. And remember that music is art and art is expression. See you in the next video.